My guest is none other than Jason McNamara, aka J Mac. Well, that's at least how I got to know you. And so we're going to have a little bit of a chat about, you cannot minimize Zoom. All right, so I can't do that. So I'm going to do a quick introduction of you to everybody. So Jason is the co-founder and vegan head chef at The Kind Kitchen. He's also the author of the newly published cookbook, The Kind Kitchen, Vegan Now What? In addition to that, he's a student of the Jivamukti Yoga. Did I say that correct?
Yep.
Great. And do you also teach? I think you also teach that, hey?
I did for a while. I haven't taught for a few years. The restaurant's
okay, so we'll
keep
it at he's a student of the Jivamukti Yoga. And so the read goes like this, that he was drawn to a vegan lifestyle through the yogic teachings and animal rights advocacy, which is right up my alley, right? Expressed by the Jivamukti Yoga method founded by Sharon, Gannon, and David Life. In 2013, he studied at the Natural Epicurean Academy of Culinary Arts in Austin, Texas. I mean, Texas of all places, okay? And has gone on to create recipes for global brands like LiveKindly and privately chefed for the Antwoord and Sheraan. I didn't know that about you. So, so that's quite exciting. And then Jay's greatest creation, according to him, and the reason for being vegan, other than his love for animals, the planet, and his health, of course, is his son and greatest food critic, Flynn. I believe that he's just over a year old now.
Yep, 13 months, going on 14.
And so, my goodness, and so you've been busy, you know, I mean, from the last time I saw you to now, and there's so much that's happened on your side, right, pertaining to, you've opened up, you know, the Kind Kitchen. I met you, I was so excited, I was there almost every Saturday. Like every Saturday, I dragged Andre to the Kind Kitchen, whether he wanted to or not. I was like, I have to go and eat, you know, whatever's on the menu. And so it became like a thing. And when I didn't go, I kind of missed it, you know, and then COVID kind of hit all of us very unexpectedly. I mean, can you believe that we've actually gone through this and we're still going through it?
2 years.
Yeah.
2 years now.
Yeah, 3 years. And so, you know, I of course have my own opinion on, you know, like what this is, you know, globally and politically as well. And so that's not something that we're going to get in now, but I have so many questions for you, right? And so, you know, that must have been quite hard and challenging to go from opening up these restaurants, investing all your money, time, energy into that, you know, being like this little pioneer. I almost want to say not little pioneer, but kind of like this pioneer, because there weren't a lot of vegan restaurants in Cape Town, and now it's just exploding and booming, right? And so it was quite a risky thing to do, and such a beautiful venture to take on. And so with that, you know, COVID gets us, and you had to close, you know, the one restaurant down in Constantia, and then after that, I think the other one closed down in Woodstock. And so what did that feel like? I mean, like, what was that process for you?
Well, I guess for everybody, and we all felt pretty much the same, you know. We lost a lot, and we lost a lot from the point of view of really now what to do with the brand. That was the toughest part about closing the restaurants. A lot of my colleagues, and myself included, started pivoting the brand and doing new things, trying to get deliveries to people. There was a crazy time there where there was no one on the road, and I was one of the only cars on the road because I had a, you know, essential services license to deliver food to people at home. So it was, if I think back now, it's such an obscure time, driving down long streets and there were no cars and no people on the road. It was like the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, and I get goosebumps when you say that, because, you know, like sometimes I have this thing where I can sense into the future, and I'm not a psychic, I'm not a seer, but I just sense, you know, into, you know, possibilities, I feel. And you know, I remember going into 2020, like it was the 19th, it was the 31st of December, and 12 o'clock at night, I'd baked a cake, you know, like a vegan cake, like carrot cake, and I'd put the candle on top, and I was standing praying, going into New Year's, praying, okay? And literally I had 3 requests for 2020, and 5 minutes after 12, like after New Year's, the first thing came true. And then, you know, I think a couple of days after that, the second thing, and then the third thing happened, and that was when we discovered COVID. And I was like, oh my God, like, I don't think I prayed for this, but, you know, there it is. And so anyway, okay, so here we are. You've developed so much has happened to you, and I have so many questions. Okay, from childhood to basically up and now to the point where you've got your cookbook and you're making these products, and it's just revolutionary all over, right? And so my phone's switched off, and now I have to log in because I was so excited to see your face now, and I'm getting really homesick. For Cape Town, you know, I had left Cape Town to obviously go on this crazy adventure, to meet the animals and the people that work with, you know, our wildlife and also our animals that are in captivity. And my gosh, like, I had no idea that it would be this challenging, okay, and that I would go on this crazy wild journey. So my question to you, Jason McNamara, is what was life like before you made the decision to go plant-based and ultimately vegan? And what and when was the turning point for you that led you to make this lifestyle change?
Okay. Yeah. So the first part of that life was, you know, not being vegan doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. I think we all have our place where things change and something just sparks that change in you, and you know, okay, this feels more right to me than it did before. So, you know, I didn't grow up vegan, unfortunately, because that just wasn't a thing back when I was growing up. And my son, however, is growing up vegan. And much to people watching now, there'll be a few people that will criticize that and go, that's not allowed, that's not fair. But, you know, he's a healthy, happy kid, and he's way past all the charts, according to his pediatricians and all the people that look out for him and his health, that know a lot more about health than I do. Yeah. So we're very happy. And, you know, to go back to childhood days and that, my whole journey, my vegan journey and plant-based journey actually started in art school. I studied animation and visual arts when I left matric. And one of the guys that I was studying with was a Muslim guy, and his you know, the Muslim belief.
So we've gone a little bit quiet. I think we've lost connection, but I'm sure it'll come back now. Okay, and so we've got load shedding. So Jay's in the Western Cape and I'm in the Eastern Cape, and with, you know, South Africa's electricity crisis, it's really tricky sometimes to like just get online and have a conversation with people, you know, on the other and on the other side of the country. And so my question to Jay was, what was life like before you made the decision to go plant-based and vegan, and what and when was the turning point for you that led you to make this lifestyle change? Floor is yours.
Yeah, all right.
Okay,
so I guess I started really considering a plant-based diet already back when I was in college in art school. I had a friend, a Muslim friend, that I had many discussions about why Muslims would slaughter animals in the way that they do, you know, the kosher kind of halal situation, much like the Jews do. And, you know, those kind of conversations kind of led me down a path where he was saying to me, they consider that when the animal is slaughtered, there's a whole bunch of fear, anxiety, stress, all of those things that are released into the beast because they know they're about to die, like we would know just before we're about to be slaughtered as well, okay? So there's nothing different between us and them. And if you take that mindset and realize what you would feel like in that moment before your death, you're going to be going through all of these anxious moments, and all of that's going to feed the adrenaline, all of those hormones, and whatever is released in the body is going to be released into the muscles. Yeah. So those muscles are the exact thing that you end up eating, right? And so all that anxiety, stress, is all going to be consumed by that person. Yeah. So they very much believe that if you try and kill the animal in the most humane way possible, there's less suffering and all of that. As a vegan now, I know that even that's not possible. But at least it started the conversation, and it turned me down a path where I was like, wow, that's a very interesting concept to start to think about. So that conversation led me to more conversations around that time, which was about 97. And I had a friend that then already was vegan herself. She was 16 at the time, and she had gone vegan. She had pretty much been vegetarian her whole life. And that was another great conversation to have. And we're still very good friends. She's a tattoo artist here in Cape Town with her husband. And they're vegan themselves, and their son's vegan. But all of those conversations kind of led me down a path. But it wasn't until about 2009, where I had met my yoga community in Johannesburg when I was living in Joburg at the time. And the style of Jivamukti Yoga came across me at that time, where I was like, okay, I'd already started toying with the plant-based world and toying with going vegetarian at least, and thinking that eating dairy was okay, or eating fish, so then you're pescatarian, not even vegetarian.
Yeah, we go through these transitions.
I thought all of those things were okay. In my mind, they were fine. It wasn't until I saw the documentary Earthlings, narrated by Joaquin Phoenix, that I really changed my mind and changed everything that I believed in. And in that documentary, there's a scene where the fish are being pulled in those big nets, thousands of tons of different fish and wildlife from the sea coming out, And if you're a sea lover and an ocean lover, like all of us are, you know that there's no way possible. There is no way possible that they control that amount and not get collateral damage in the form of turtles, sharks, whales, baby, whatever it is, Yes, they're trying to get that, I don't know, yellowfin tuna or whatever they're trying to troll, but they're getting so much more, and it's creating havoc in our oceans. So it was then actually that I decided to go vegan, and it was an immediate effect. It wasn't even like a cold turkey transition. It was, this is what I'm going to do. And, that was the process, and I have never looked back since then.
Yeah, and it's so beautiful when you say that you've never looked back, because I have also never looked back, and I kind of was angry, because since very young, since I was a child, I didn't want to eat meat, but I was also raised in an Afrikaans home. You have to eat meat, and I was actually beaten for not eating meat, and so, here you are, you're 6 years old, and you do not want to consume animals, and I'm surrounded by a hunting community and farmers and Afrikaners, very set in their ways. And, and then on top of that, my dad had an abattoir and a butchery, and he was in the meat. And so very few people know that about me. Okay. And so that was what I was exposed to as a child. And so I know exactly, where that comes from. And then you talking about the ocean. And so I actually Googled your surname yesterday. I was like, what does that mean? And do you know what that means?
Sea
Son of the hound of the sea, right? Like basically the protector of the sea. And I'm so grateful to you, first of all, for saying yes to me, because my focus this year is going to be on the ocean, and I've been having so many conversations with regards to the ocean and the seismic testing, and also like the waste that South Africa is willing to bring into our country, the toxic chemical waste. And so there is no ways that our ocean can sustain this, And I was having a conversation with you in my mind this morning while I was sort of like getting ready, and I was like, okay, well, I really wish that he would mention the ocean, and so you've just done that. And so I think, they also say like the best way to protect the ocean is to not eat the fish and marine life. And what I say to people is, not even if I was an advocate for wildlife and animals in general, and also being this advocate for the planet, not even then, even if I didn't like animals, I wouldn't eat them purely because of a health issue at the moment, right? And so that brings me to my second question. Talk to me about how making this decision has transformed your life, observing your life and those around you. How does being a vegan continue to shift and change life, the quality of life, and the experience of life for you?
Yeah, good question. So I guess, in the beginning, when you decide to go vegan, now let's just put it out there for everyone that doesn't know the difference between plant-based and vegan.
Yeah.
So plant-based means that you are eating generally plants because of your health, right? And that means that now and again, maybe you would slip into eating some dairy, maybe a little bit of fish here and there. So it's kind of like flexitarian, but you're generally plant-based, so it means you're 90% a week.
Yeah.
There's varying descriptions of plant-based. Like you'll get the solid plant-based people that just eat plants, but they don't follow a vegan lifestyle. So now what does that mean, right? So vegan lifestyle, which is what I follow, and Petro, I guess what you follow, is I will not use anything that comes from an animal byproduct at all. Okay, so leather shoes, even going to find sneakers is a tumultuous affair.
I mean, my life's changed. Like my life's changed, right? Like everything has changed. Yeah. And so, and it's so difficult because most of the products out there, especially in South Africa, if you want to go hiking and stuff like that outdoors, is very much leather-based, Okay, continue.
Yeah, absolutely. So nothing, no byproduct of the animal is used in the vegan lifestyle. Whereas plant-based, most plant-based people would still wear leather, use leather handbags, whatever it is. Okay, so that's the difference in a nutshell for those that are watching that didn't know that little interesting fact. So when I decided to go vegan, my family obviously was the first to go, this is interesting, but is it sustainable? Is it really, how are we going to do this at family events when we don't eat that way and you can't force us into it or anything like that, okay? So it's challenging when you go vegan or even plant-based, I guess, in the beginning. And it was also challenging over a decade ago when I decided to go vegan because things weren't really there yet. The South African market wasn't there yet. The products that we have today weren't really readily available at all. So it was very challenging, but now I think it's become a lot easier. So the transition over the years from going to family dinners and breakfasts and things like that, where it was a full out fight sometimes and crying and screaming matches, has now turned more into an interesting conversation where it's like, we really like that dish that you told us to make, or you've shown us a different way to do things. So it's become a kind of conversation now, and which is really cool because it shows that we're evolving. And if your family can evolve with you, they're the strongest ones that help you progress, right? Yes. So if your family starts to get it, then you're actually starting to change opinions, because they're your strongest advisors, your strongest critics. They will love and guide you, but they'll also cut you down. So if you can find that middle ground, then you're on the right path. So I finally feel like I'm there. My mom is very much invested in the business and helps. She does all of our bookkeeping. And
yay, mom! Yay!
She's not vegan. She's not vegan yet, but she's definitely on the path. Because of my mom, I also did grow up enjoying the love for vegetables a lot more. I grew up in a very healthy household. So how has the transition been? I've been fortunate enough that I had gone and studied how to cook all of these things. I've been fortunate enough around family that taught me how to cook a lot of these ways. Even though there was meat on the side, vegetables was very much a part of our daily lives, and cooked properly. So the transition for me has been easy, but for a lot of people it's not. And I guess that's also why this book that I created, which we'll get to down the line, it definitely has helped. My partner's, Flynn's mom, her mom has gone flexitarian, started flexitarian and is now plant-based, and she's looking at this book now because it's a lot easier for her to now eat this way. So I guess what I'm trying to get at is the conversations we have to have kinder, compassionate conversations with those we love, because once we have them, then it becomes easier down the line to have those people on your side, because there's so many people against us. So we got to have the ones that love us on the side.
You know, and so I'm listening to you, and then there's a part of me that just sort of like wants to jump into the screen and hug you. And at the same time, you know, there's so much resistance. So there's so much resistance, right? And you mentioned the word vegan to people that aren't, and immediately there's this sort of animosity towards you, and they've got this resistance towards you, and immediately they feel judged. But we're not even judging. Yep. They feel judged. Yeah, they judge themselves, you know. And I was in a very awkward position the other day, and I'll be very honest, because I think, like, you know, nobody's perfect, and we've all had to transition from one point to the rest. So for me, I had a lot of resistance as a child, not wanting to eat meat. But the moment you know, it was so clear, like I woke up on a Sunday morning, I was 13 or 14 years old. Everything was the same, but I woke up differently. I don't know what happened. Yeah. Okay. And I got out of bed and I was like, gosh, I feel different. Okay.
Yes.
And I walked down the staircase, and we had this beautiful house, and my dad was doing like his normal Sunday thing. You know, the family would come over, and like all the aunties and the uncles and the children. And it was such a mission for me always. And I could not handle the smell of meat anymore. I just could not do the red meat. And I actually physically got ill. And I said to them, you know, I am not going to eat it. And for a good couple of months after that, I think like 2 years or so, so I was 13, 14, and at 15, the one day I get home, and this is probably going to make him sound like a terrible person, but he was just, you know, he didn't understand. Okay. And so I get home and I'm like, I don't want to eat with them. I don't want to sit down at the table, because one thing that happens is when you, and for a lack of using a different word, once you wake up or you go into a different consciousness, right? Everything changes. And when you stop eating meat or eggs or milk, butter, any of these things, like your senses change. And I could not handle the smell. I couldn't. Yes. Like it was like I could smell really, really, like, you know. And so I remember we were sitting at the table, and he was like, okay, well, you're going to get a hiding. And I was like already mentally preparing myself, you know. I was like, okay, I'm going to get this hiding. If it's not the first hiding, you know, I'm prepared for it. He was like, you better eat that food. And I was like, and so I moved, because we had this sort of like walk-in sitting table, you know. So I was sitting right at the back, and he was like, you better eat that food. And I was like, I'm not going to eat it. And he was like, you're going to get a hiding. And I was like, well, then you may as well hit me, you know. And so for 2 hours, we sat there, okay, with this like stare down. And I was like, you can kill me today, like you can hit me until I bleed, I will not eat it. And so I still ate chicken and fish, you know, but not that much. But there's another story that I can share with you at another time. Okay, when I was 6 years old, and that's already when my mom knew, okay, this child's she's just different, all right. And so now, you know, I don't have that much resistance from them, but I definitely have it with people that I meet on the road. Yeah. And funny enough, the farmers that I meet are so considerate, so sincere. Yes. Like they don't object to it. They're like, she wants vegetables, we can give her vegetables, you know. And I almost want to say, but then you go to the other spectrum, which are the conservationists, and they're like, why are you not eating meat? And you know, what's wrong with you? And all this stuff, right? And so anyway, so there's a lot of criticism with regard to that. And so I've started using plant-based instead of vegan, you know, meaning I eat vegetables. And then if you want to know more about the vegan lifestyle, then okay, then I explain to them. And so more often than not, people will ask questions, but it gets really tricky in dynamics, relationship dynamics, I'm sure that you're aware of, where, you know, the one person eats animals and the other one just doesn't see them to be food, which is, I don't see animals to be food. I had the vision, you know, I saw. And so for me, I can't unsee. It's not something that I can unsee. Okay.
No, so absolutely.
So my next question to you, because I don't know how much time we have, but I know that you said you had until 11. let's talk about the Kind Kitchen and your cookbook, The Kind Kitchen, Vegan, Now What? Okay, and how together with the practice of, oh my, that's such a sexy book. Like, it is so beautiful. Like, when I saw the first, oh, so good. Oh, so beautiful. And I have to get mine. I think it was on Loot. Hey, I'm going to order mine on Loot.
Loot. Yeah, Loot.
I can order it directly from you and pay you direct, because I want your signature in it, actually. Oh my gosh. Oh, so good. And like the graphics, I really like the graphics. I really like the photography. It's so well put together, and oh, I cannot wait to actually have it. And so, but I want your signature in it though. So I think I may sort of like buy it and then have it delivered by you, and then you sign, and then we can send it. So let's talk about the Kind Kitchen, your cookbook, and how together with the practice of your yoga allows you to express and at large be part of an animal rights advocacy movement. And I would like to add advocacy for the planet as well, in addition, because food, let food be thy medicine, and also let food show the new way, of the world.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. The floor is yours.
So I guess the Kind Kitchen is exactly that. When I started the Kind Kitchen in late 2017, started doing private chefing for anyone that would really have me at that stage.
Amazing.
Because friends, family, they just opened up their homes and they were like, let Jay just test out recipes and that. I wasn't going to go into a full-on restaurant just yet. Before that, I'd owned a yoga studio in Cape Town with my ex-wife, and we were teaching various forms of yoga, but the main form we always taught was Jivamukti Yoga, which is what we spoke about earlier, which stems from New York, Sharon, Gannon, and David Light. And I was fortunate enough, with a bit of a backstory here, because of my studies and what I studied before I became a chef. I was in marketing and advertising, so I had studied film and all of that, and I managed to crowdfund a documentary about Jivamukti Yoga. And I went and spent a lot of time with them, my teachers in New York, and it got me into understanding even more about the vegan lifestyle and why. And I got to meet Ingrid Newkirk, the founder of PETA, and I interviewed her. And just so many amazing people like her and Sharon that are trying their best to change the world and show people how to live in harmony with animals and the planet rather than against it, okay? And I think COVID now has also shown us that this is very, very necessary, because if we don't change our ways, we're running out of time. They've already estimated by 2050 we're up Schitt's Creek without a paddle if we don't change our ways.
Yeah, we're on this precipice of, a disaster. We can see it. The data doesn't lie, and yet we have people that ignore it, that don't want to participate, that just live very sort of on this linear timeline of how much can I get while I'm here on the planet Earth, without even considering, life after them, for their children's children.
And unfortunately, I think that's just the human condition. That will never change. Doesn't matter if the whole world goes vegan tomorrow, there'll always be those that will be in it for themselves. So the only way that we can really change mindsets here is to showcase a better way of living. Personalities of the individual will always be different. There'll always be those bad apples that will just mess it up for all of us. But I guess if the critical mass changes the way that they live, even if it's not a full vegan lifestyle, even if it's just mostly plant-based and trying your best, then I think that correct, we're on the right path then, right? So when I started the Kind Kitchen, the reason for the name was exactly that. How do you connect with people? Now, I connected with so many people through teaching yoga, teaching young.
Show me your tattoos. Be kind. Show me. Boom, boom,
boom. So you got to be kind. And yoga was definitely the stepping stone that got me into chefing and cooking and all of that, and workshops. And we taught so many yogis that wanted to teach themselves and wanted to go off into the world and be yoga teachers themselves. We were lucky enough to impart our knowledge that we had been given from our teachers about veganism the lifestyle and the animals and all of that. So, you know, my job had been done there and my time with yoga had been done there. And then I moved on to the Kind Kitchen, opened up the first one in Woodstock, which was really cool. It happened to be a grungy little area because that's what Woodstock is here in Cape Town. And that was going so well for us. And it really actually started in my home kitchen though, before Woodstock happened, because I was in Vredehok cooking from my home kitchen, going to these various people's houses that would have me. And then I started on Uber Eats as a dark kitchen because I'd seen that concept working quite nicely overseas. And then it escalated into opening our own space in Woodstock. Now, what I noticed with the Kind Kitchen was that most of the time, people were coming to the kitchen and saying, I'm not vegan, I'm trying this thing out, I'm plant-based, or I've just gone vegan, now what do I do? And hence the reason for this book and the name, the tagline for the Kind Kitchen.
It's perfect. I mean, I was like vegan now, but I was like, oh, it's so brilliant. You know, like that's so brilliant. And I was like, oh, I'm so excited about this book and I'm so happy for you. Continue.
So the reason that I feel that the Kind Kitchen did so well when we started and continues as a brand to do well is because I like to connect with people through their stomachs, right? And I think this is a very important way that we're going to change the world, is that you have to come to people, you know, like Madiba said it, you speak to people in their own language, you speak to them at their heart, right? And most of us speak the language of the stomach because we all like to eat. Okay? We need to sustain ourselves. So if you can connect with someone on that level, I think you're halfway there. And the conversations I've had with people over dinner, across the dinner table, have always ended pretty much well, where people are like, tell me more about it. Most of the time people are saying to me, I want to change my ways of eating. I want to eat less meat, not just because of the animals, because of my health. That becomes the main focus. And then down the line, the health, their own personal health turns to the health of the planet and the animals, right?
Yeah. So
I think the entry level for me was through food. So how do I do that? And one of the ways, I'm going to share my screen. If you can enable that for me.
Can you? Okay, so let's do share screen. I think you. So how do I optimize share sound? No, optimize video clip. Like, what are you?
There should be a share screen.
Okay, option. I'm just going to say share. Okay.
Okay.
Is that working? No. No.
That's okay.
Gosh, I have not.
Your screen's been shared.
Oh gosh, no, stop that. Stop share. So I have no idea how the screen sharing actually works.
No problem. Gosh. So I just want to show the one thing there is, we're going to share recipes with people, right?
Yeah.
But for instance, in this book, this is how to make meaty balls, right?
Yeah.
Meaty meat balls. Now, this recipe actually stems from my stepdad.
Amazing.
Growing up, he's a fantastic cook himself. I learned a lot of what I know through him, through my family. I come from on my mom's side, we're Oberholzers. So we come from an Afrikaans and Durans. So Afrikaans lineage there. And my gran, you know, she comes from a staunch Afrikaans family, 13 kids. She learned how to cook. She was the eldest. She had to teach herself. She had to cook for her siblings growing up. So my gran taught me a lot of stuff as well. Even though it was meat-based back in those days. But the premise and the reason I tell you this is because those things that I learned in those kitchens growing up, I've taken now and adapted to a plant-based recipe or lifestyle.
Amazing.
And I think those flavor profiles that I still remember and remind me of happy times. Yes, there is nothing wrong with the flavor of meat. We do not eat meat because it has a bad flavor, right? At least for me. The flavor is not what stops me. It's the killing, it's the cruelty, it's all of those things. It's putting animals into bondage that I don't want to be part of. Right? Yeah. So meeting people halfway with a recipe that kind of has that flavor profile of meats that reminds them of a nostalgic time in their granny's kitchen or their mom's kitchen, is where I like to operate from with the Kind Kitchen. And I think this is one of the reasons that we've remained relevant and why people do want to understand what we're doing, even if they're not vegan.
Yeah.
So that is the Kind Kitchen in a nutshell. And that is why Constantia 86's more prestigious sit-down venue was very popular until COVID hit. And that's why Woodstock remained relevant until COVID hit as well. So all of these reasons is why I feel the Kind Kitchen is a necessity and why we continue to stay relevant in this market, even though there's so many people doing what we do.
Yeah. Well, there's not so many people doing what you're doing, actually. And so there's so much that I want to say to you now. So number one, I know people that obviously stopped eating meat, not because they didn't like the taste of meat, but because they didn't want to be part of that industry, and also because they could see the amount of damage that is being done to the environment. That's it. Secondly, I've tasted plant-based products that I literally wanted to throw up, not because it was bad, just because it was so real. It was like I couldn't eat the Beyond Burger. Like when that came out, I was like, that looks too real. I'm not going to eat it, And everybody's like, don't be so high society. And I was like, I can't. Like I could not handle the texture. And I remember Andre had it, and he was like, oh my gosh, like this tastes just like meat, And I was like, okay, well then give me a piece, let me, And so I kind of had to get my mind, and also Romeo the vegan butcher, like the first time I had his societies, I was like, I cannot actually put this in my mouth because it was too real for me. And so, for me, I didn't like the meat and the textures as a child. And so that kind of got ingrained in me, and I got conditioned, and also forced to eat that. And so for me, it was a long journey to basically end that and also like transition out of that, And so, and then there was another thing that I wanted to say to you. So, the Western Cape's quite clued up. I think Johannesburg as well. But along the Eastern Cape, my gosh, there's like a whole market for you. Like there is like Knysna, not so much, not so many vegan options, vegan restaurants. Jeffreys Bay was kind of like the first place that had like so many options. And then there's the Kindred Kitchen in PE, okay, which I would love for you to come and visit us and basically do a demo, maybe perhaps even in their kitchen. And so, because I know that, from COVID, you had to close down shop, but you opened up a different kind of shop with products. And so, Jason's been experimenting for the past how many years in getting plant-based options available for people that taste and feels and just exactly
similar,
and so my gosh, like dude, like how amazing, right? How amazing is it
Thank you.
that you've been able to do that? And I saw something because I thought you would have more time. And then you were like, yeah, sure, let me have this conversation with you. And I was like, well, I still need to go and sort of like stalk you online and see what you've been busy with. But I saw that you've got like chicken style, kind of chicken style. There was this big thing like a roast that you've kind of developed. And so what are the products that you have? And then I've got another question for you as well.
So those that are interested, you can hop onto thekindkitchen.co.za and have a look at what we're doing there. The cookbook's available there too, and our products. So what happened is when COVID hit, Constantia was the first to go, and then Woodstock last February we had to close down. So then I took the most popular products that we were using in those kitchens. So for instance, our faux chicken, our faux beef, where we used to make our Philly cheesesteaks from, which you and Andre enjoyed quite a few times. We took those ideas, and I was fortunate enough, I pitched for investment through various platforms and finally found a partner that came on board to help me upscale my products. So the products have now gone through quite a few months. I mean, we started in August, and by finally end of October, we were ready to go to market with products. Look, it's still a challenge. We got a 2.0 of everything coming very soon, we've still got to get nutritional facts and elements on the back of that. That's such a costly exercise, which most people don't realize. But anyway, to backtrack, so those products, we took them and we said, okay, let's create these foam meats. Now, for those watching, those foam meats are, they come with the tagline, kind of chicken, kind of beef, kind of bacon or bacon, kind of yolk, because we're the kind kitchen. So it's kind of like meat, and it's also kind in the sense that it's not hurting the animal.
It's brilliant. And so, your marketing is brilliant. I love the way that you like the colors that you used. And so it is just, man, I'm just so proud to know you, as a person. And I know you, I remember the first time I saw you, okay? And I'm actually very shy, so people think they have this thing that, she's quite outspoken and she's an extrovert because of what I do, but I'm really, really very shy. And I think if I didn't put myself in these work situations, then I wouldn't speak to anybody. And so I remember seeing you the first time at one of the restaurants, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I so have to meet this dude. Like I just had this, like I have to meet you and I have to speak to you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, and now I know why, because I have this thing, be kind to the animals, and I don't see how, and it's very difficult for me because when I got to the road, I said, how do I bring the hunter and the vegan together, and everybody was like, why are you going to go on the road? Like, what are you going to do? And I had no real plan. I still have no real plan. But I wanted to meet everybody. I wanted to meet from the hunter to the vegan, from the welfareist to the activist, from the, the all of it. All of them I wanted to meet, right? And because my focus is on the animals and the planet, and as long as that's where my focus is at, then I somehow can put myself in a position where I meet these individuals and they can meet me, and I can share my story with them and kind of find out what they've been through. And what was really beautiful, so I would meet some of these individuals, not the type of people that you would normally want to meet, okay, being a vegan. And I would sit down with them and I would ask them these questions, and somewhere along the line I would ask a question, and there's always this moment that I chase, okay, is where I can see that this person had a moment where they were either hunting or they shot an animal, and in that moment they just realized they can't ever do that again, whether it was a baboon or a rhino or an animal, and so I find that these stories are more and more coming out, and that people, they regret what they've done, and that they can't do that anymore. And so that's at least a plus point, but the majority of South Africans also on the meat, it gets marketed specifically to men in South Africa that in order to be a man, you have to eat meat, right? Otherwise you're not masculine, or, in order to have that connection with your father or your mother or your family, you have to eat meat. And so it's become this very social act of connecting with our parents or our brothers or our sisters, and that if you don't have that, they kind of feel like there's a loss, that they feel like now they can't enjoy the company of the people that they love because they don't eat meat. It's so ridiculous in the end of the day, but it's real. Really? And so, and marketing in South Africa is very much very much focused around marketing that specifically to men in South Africa. And so, Jay, I have another question. Oops, before it goes. As a father, right? When you look at the state of the world and the current unconscious lifestyle choices so many make, what would you like to leave behind as a legacy for humanity, a teaching, a phrase, a practice, a message for those that will continue their existence on this planet when we've moved on? As in, you've moved on, I've moved on. And what is the message for the current and for future generations? Like from your lips to their ears.
Yeah. Well, I guess our mantra is, and my mantra is always be kind. Continue to be kind. And it just sums it all up, because I think if you can have a two-way conversation like you're doing with hunters and conservationists, everyone's on their own path, everyone's on their own journey, as yoga teaches us, and nobody's perfect. And us vegans have a reputation looking down at other people as being lower than us because they still consume animals and all of that. But we've got to understand that everyone's on their own journey. They've got their own struggles to get through on a daily basis. And it takes a conversation with the likes of yourself, being kind, listening, understanding, that perhaps will change them on a path to betterment. And this path of betterment may not even be the right path. We don't know ourselves that vegan lifestyle is the right path. It just happens to be the kindest one that we know of right now.
Yeah.
In the next few years, maybe there's something else that comes up that says we should be going this way. So the science says that a vegan lifestyle is a more sustainable, conservationist, sustainable lifestyle right now.
Yeah.
But I think so from my side, being kind and listening to others is the best advice that I've been given and continue to take with me wherever I go, because it's so easy to get uppity and upset when someone doesn't follow the same mantra, the same mindset as you. And I've seen it happen across the table so many times where conversations start nicely and then they end very badly because everyone has a different opinion. And this is why wars are fought, right? Because everyone has different opinions, and that's what makes us human. We're all different.
Yeah.
So I guess if we can start to just change within our inner circle, like I was speaking about earlier with our families, and then that ripples out, it's going to be the easiest way to instill change and long-lasting change within the world.
Yeah.
You know, there's so many deep-rooted traditions within our own country, from, you know, the various tribes of manlyhood that comes with slaughtering the animal at your own wedding, you know, feeding your people at your wedding with one big bull, you know, those kinds of things. Those are traditions that are long and far-reaching, far past our existence, you know, you and myself.
Sorry, James.
So, no problem.
No, that was supposed to be on silent.
So I think to answer your question, it's so complicated. There are so many colorful complications that happen in our world, and we need to just kind of go with the flow and go, this works for me. The reason I do this and exude this is because of that. And I think if you just live for who you are and your statements, people will either come along with you or they'll go their own way. But maybe you'll make a lasting impression that down the line, when they're 80 or 90, something in them changes, and then, you know, things adapt again. So, you know, I think that's the best way we can be. Just be kind. Just be kind.
I mean, it's so simple, right? And if you don't know what the industry is about, go and look at the documentaries and look at, you know, the data and look at what people have actually dedicated their lives to show us, you know. And what I say to people is, just because we were raised in a way doesn't mean that we have to continue living in that way. And I say to people, like, for me, this was a calling, you know. I had visions, and I call it like a calling from God, and it became so strong that I couldn't ignore it, right? And once you see, you can't unsee. And and it goes so far beyond, gosh, I just had deja vu, and it goes so far beyond just the kindness to non-human animals, you know. But if you look at the people that work in, let's say, factory farms, and the conditions that they are exposed to, and the level of violence that they have to inflict, you know, you really have to question yourself, like, is that a person that you would want as a friend, or close to your child, or near your community? And for me, it was very simple, you know. The answer was no. And so, you know, we can take it from a realistic point of view, and we can take it from a spiritual point of view, but in the end, I, as in Petro Diamant, choose not to be part of the cruelty and the violence inflicted on others. And you know, when I look at any non-human animal, they are a person to me, and you know, a being with a personality. And gosh, Jay, like, all the animals that I've worked with, right, like, each and every one of them has got such a beautiful personality. And so your message is really beautiful. Be kind to the animals. And you know, when I started Earth Alive 365, I said, like, I wanted people to celebrate their own hearts. And what I've come to notice is that people don't celebrate their own hearts. They're not even kind to themselves. And so when we sit with, you know, that level of consciousness with people where they don't love themselves, they're not kind to themselves, they're not kind to the environment, they're not kind to anybody else, then how do we, you know, like, it's a real issue. Like, how do you...
It's a tough one. I mean, yesterday, Vedra, I was delivering some books. I've been going around. We had a whole bunch of people do pre-orders. So here where I can in the Western Cape, I've been personally delivering them. It's always nice to reconnect with all of the people that I used to see at the restaurant, you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, driving through Khayelitsha, you know, you see how little they have, most people, how the majority of the population lives, okay? And I think this is the bigger issue that needs to first be fixed, and then the rest will start to fall into place. There's nothing to say that they're not happy living the way that they're living. They make the best out of a bad situation. However, if you're living on a very small margin of money to raise you and your family, I think the last thing that comes to mind is how you're going to protect the animals and the environment. You know, I'm speaking for people that I don't know, okay? But this is what goes through my mind. If I had 50 Rand a day to feed my whole family, and the only thing I could afford was, I don't know, pork chops or whatever it is, that's probably what I would do. Although there are options now, and, you know, showing people that way, how to make wholesome meals with rice, beans, spinach, potatoes, carrots, wholesome things from the earth. And I'm sure most of them do live that way because vegetables are cheaper and they're more wholesome for you than meat. And maybe meat is only an every now and again situation in their lifestyle. But I think, you know, not to digress, I think the bigger issue is a societal issue. And this is why we're in a situation still in this world where there is so much meat being consumed because it is seen as a prestigious thing where it shouldn't be, you know. And the UN and the World Health Organization has put it out there saying it's a carcinogenic. Meat is a carcinogenic. It will kill you, okay? But yet we still continue to go down that path, and it's deeply ingrained within us. It's a traditional thing that all of a sudden you're fancy and you're wealthy if you can have a whole roast leg of lamb at a party. No, it's not the way it should be anymore. So these are the things that I would like to see Petro Diamant tackling in our parliament very soon, because I can see that that's your part.
Gosh, you know, and so here's the thing, and so we live in a society, and I don't know how much time we have, but I know that you only have until 11, and I don't know when this recording is going to finish, and I still have questions for you, but there is a real issue in South Africa with population increase, and it's estimated by 2050 that Africa's population will literally amount to the half of the world's population. Hello, Kitty. And so will amount to half of the world's population. And so right there, you know, we have 11 countries in Africa that are whose population growth is the biggest, is growing exponentially. Okay, and so right there is a problem. And then we have government incentives basically saying to people, if you have a child, you get XYZ amount per month. Big problem right there. Okay, and then if you go up further in Africa, I mean, some of those communities is, I think it's Zimbabwe, they don't even eat that much meat. It's very much vegetarian based. And so, and I think, I know that there is a real fear around the majority of middle-class people that can actually afford other foods, okay? That they fear losing the connections that they have to the people that are in their lives. And it's the biggest bullshit. I want to call it out. It's the biggest bullshit ever, because, you know, when I made this change, I didn't care. I was like, the planet and the animals come first. I said that to everybody in my life. My mom, I was like, Mom, sorry, you're second now. I know you brought me into the world, but like without the planet and without, you know, biodiversity, we will not make it. And so, and look at the stuff that you're putting in your mouth. Okay, sorry, Mom. And so, you know, we have to hold ourselves accountable. We also have to hold the people in our lives accountable. It's not easy. The shift wasn't easy. It wasn't easy for us. And looking at the global trend, if you have a restaurant and you have not incorporated a vegan, vegetarian option on your menu, you are losing customers at a very fast rate. And because for me, I don't want to alter your menu. I want to sit down, I want to order something that's on your menu, okay, because I want to give you my money, and our money votes for what happens on the planet, okay? And so wherever you put your money into, you basically vote for what continues to take place on this planet. And so if you want to continue voting for cruelty and violence and, you know, death and just like the whole destruction of the planet, then sure, put your money on that, because that's what you're going to see continue. But if you want to live a different lifestyle, and guys, I know that some of you want to change, you don't know how. Here's the person that can help you, and he's not the only person that can help you, right? I mean, there's a wealth of information online that can easily guide you, you know, plus to mention, we've got amazing nutritionists as well, you know, out there that can sort of guide you and give you like a healthy meat plan. But it's a mindset thing, and you are going to have to want to, you know, be an advocate for your own health and well-being. And, you know, that goes hand in hand with being an advocate for the planet, you know, and basically every earthling that we share this planet with. And so, I mean, Jay, it's amazing that you've created all these products. You know, I have so many more questions for you. But that's basically that is, you know, like to go to Parliament. And right now I'm having the conversation of giving personhood for the ocean. Okay, 180 countries signed a treaty to not allow waste products from other countries into their countries. This means toxic waste as well as plastic from, you know, plastic waste. But South Africa, our Ministry of our DAFI, Department of Fisheries and Forestry and Environment, you know, Barbara Creasy, they are saying that we do not have enough plastic in the country, you know. And why do we all of a sudden have all these boats coming to South Africa wanting to dump their toxic waste? And so it's not just up to the conservationists, and it's not just up to certain people in Parliament, and it's not just up to, you know, organizations, did I say that already? Organizations to basically tackle this and get it, you know, eliminated from happening. And so it really is going to take local community with your global community, okay, to protect what we love. And what I say to people is, because, you know, when I started this, you know, people were saying to me, well, who do you think you are to come into our country and tell us what to do? But I was born in Namibia, right? And so I've got every right to actually say something. And not just that, I was born on planet Earth. Okay, I'm a human, human being, right? And so I have a right to speak up. And so every time we do not take things serious, every time we negate away and we don't participate in conversations that, you know, the government's having, we basically give them permission to amend and bring up new regulations. And then, you know, we cry about the new regulations that they bring on board. And so, Jay, when people say to you, but veganism is unhealthy, what do you say to them?
So many things. Right? I mean, you know, look, I've been vegan now since 2009, so that's going on 13 years. I've hardly ever had any health issues other than the odd flu here and there. And, you know, I stay pretty active. I don't do trail running. I don't do any of those kinds of things. I practice yoga and I swim and I do what I can to stay healthy. But if it wasn't for my wholesome food that I put into my body, I think I'd be far worse off, you know. most people, most guys my age have massive books and are struggling with hypertension and heart disease and things like that, you know. So I think that's a fallacy. I hardly eat all of these lean proteins that we apparently need to get the right amount of protein into our bodies on a weekly basis. I don't. You know, I eat what I feel I need, and generally that consists of, like this week, it's been black beans, rice, and some spinach in a beautiful Mexican style bowl. That bowl in itself is a complete amino protein, building block for, I don't know the right terms because I'm not a nutritionist, but it's got all the things that it needs. Black beans, rice, quinoa was also in there, and spinach. You can add kale, protein. And then I had a wonderful fat in there in the form of avo, and some sunflower oil or canola oil. So I think it's just a fallacy, and people need to realize that if you are putting the rainbows of colors on your plate throughout the week, you're getting all the nutrients you need. You're getting the zinc, you're getting the potassium, you're getting the phosphorus, you're getting the iron, whatever it is. Sure, there's times where I feel a little bit down and I need B12 or I need a little bit of an iron infusion. But who doesn't in this day and age, Petra? Exactly. I don't know a person that still eats even meat that doesn't take a multivitamin, because the soil is so different. Everything has changed in our environment. Everything is bred so differently. Even the plants are bred, in these. The soil that isn't as nutrient dense as it used to be. So we've got to understand that there's a time and a place to take multivitamins, but I don't take a lot of them. I take it when I need it. My body tells me and I take it then. But, if you're adding purple cabbage, patty pans, you're adding the lean meats like a tofu, or you're having chickpeas, you're getting all the stuff you need, and it's all delicious. You're making me hungry.
I feel like I'm hungry now. And I don't want to eat.
When people say to me, but where do you get your protein? It's the usual story. It's like mushrooms, man. Mushrooms, tofu, black beans. I mean, even baked beans have protein in it. Bread has protein, guys. Come on, stop being stupid. So get away with that shit.
And so another question. And so when people say to you, to be vegan is expensive.
Yeah, it can be. It can be.
It can be when you buy all the processed stuff, right?
Yes.
But when you go to the market,
I have to agree.
Yeah.
I have to agree with people when they do say that the bought stuff can be expensive. Beyond Burger is amazing, but it is super expensive. The average person can't afford a Beyond Burger. And even the average person these days can't afford the local brands like Fry's. Fry's products are amazing, but 2 Fry's pea protein patties, 60 Rand.
Yeah.
Our own stuff, I am struggling myself to get our own products down in line with the average person. And it's going to take time. The ingredients are so expensive to get in from Europe or wherever they're coming from.
Yeah.
So I'm looking as a chef at different ingredients.
You know what, Jay, what I say to people like that is if the milk goes above a certain price bracket, I don't buy it. I just don't buy it.
Yeah.
Okay, and they will see that people don't buy it because it's too expensive, and so they will have to lower it. Okay, if it goes, for me, I don't need all the processed stuff, and so actually I shouldn't have all the processed stuff. And I can attest to when I was in Cape Town and I was sort of like home-based and not traveling, my weight was down. I was eating a lot more healthier. I had a vegetable garden that saves you tons of money when you have your own garden. And so when you buy organic, that also keeps your weight intact. And then I got to the road and I was traveling and I was like, okay, I don't really know if I have a fridge tonight, or I don't know, how much the space or like what. And so I started buying all the processed sort of nibbly stuff. I got so fat. I'm still struggling, and I had
I doubt that very much.
No, that's why you can only see this part, right? And so I had a back injury in March 2020, just before heavy lockdown. And when my weight was down, I was able to kind of like negate you know, or like kind of like shift and attend to that part. Now where I've picked up weight, I am in chronic pain, and I'm trying to get all that toxins that I've put into my body by not eating natural and organic. Like I'm trying to get all of that out of my body now. And so, and then you and I've had that conversation of, you know, chronic living, you know, all about chronic living, you know, that I was doing very long fasts when I was in Cape Town as well. And when I was doing my fasts, I've never felt more clean and healthy, and no pain in my body, none whatsoever, right? And so
absolutely.
So yeah, so there's a thing of like, what type of vegan do you want to be? Do you want to be the one that puts all the sort of like processed stuff in your body, or, you know, do you want to balance it out with sort of like just rice, potatoes?
And it's simple. I mean, at the end of the day, we're just all a bunch of chemicals, right? So at the end of the day, it's acid versus alkaline. And alkaline, as we understand, is obviously the healthier. If you're more alkaline in your body, you're a lot healthier. If there's too much acid in your body, you're a lot less healthy. So the processed anything is going to be too much acid.
And so for anybody who wants and is interested, and you're based in Cape Town, I'm sure you can ship nationwide as well. I know that people ship their products nationwide.
So you go to the frozen stuff.
So they can go to the kindkitchen.co.za. Was that co.za?
Correct,
to go and see what Jason J has put together, you know, your incredible creative sort of products that you've come up with. And also for the Kind Kitchen cookbook, I mean, can you please just, I'm going to buy one and just sign it for me, like beautiful little note in there.
Absolutely.
Okay? For Petro Diamant. And so, you know, where do they go to for that? Because I went on to Take a Lot didn't have, I think. And so Loot, is it Loot?
Loot, graffiti books, bargain books, Wordsworth, they all have it. Then you can also get the ebook version, it's all there. But you can order straight from us online, and I'll send it to you via courier.
That's amazing.
But our frozen products, unfortunately, we're not doing nationally yet, because we're still trying to understand the logistics that go behind getting frozen food to you still frozen. So we're only our products are only readily available right now in Cape Town. The book is nationwide, but we have lots of interest. We have interest in Zimbabwe. We have interest on the garden route. We have interest in Durban. So it's all and Pretoria. It's all happening. We just have. It's going to happen this year. We've got to get our prices down so that it's more in line with people's budgets. We're working on all of these things.
So Jay, so what's the vision going forward, like for the Kind Kitchen? Obviously to get your own spot again, and you know, to welcome guests into your space and have them sit down and treat them, you know, to like the best of your creations. Is that the vision going forward? Amazing.
The vision going forward nationwide, then from nationwide, hopefully to a bit more of an international market, perhaps Dubai. And here it comes, my little chap.
Oh, little Flynn. Hello, dude. Hello. Oh my gosh, little teeny tiny human vegan being. Oh my goodness, he's beautiful, right? It's so much pressure. It's like, I don't know how you've done it. Like, I've got so much respect for parents, because, you know, to bring these little beings into existence now. Hi.
What shirt you got on? Is it a Be Kind shirt?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, look at that.
And let me see. Show it. Oh, beep beep.
And you see, I mean, this is Rolling with Daddy.
No, it's amazing. No, Rolling with Daddy, Be Kind, that's all good. And so Jay, I have one more question, a little on the light side, so people know where to get your book.
Let me hand over Flynn to Nanny.
And
then are you guys off to the park?
He is so cutie. He's so cutie. And how's Mama Bear doing? Is she good?
Yeah, she's good. Yeah, she's all good. Yeah, he's been a little champion. So yeah, just to finish off on that last thought there. So the immediate thing is getting our products out there, getting it. not so much competing with local brands like Fry's and the international brands like Beyond. It's not so much competing. It's more like it's just another option.
Yeah.
But my down the line goal for some time this year is to perhaps have, back to what we were, a vegan deli. That was the original concept. We started the Kind Kitchen off as a vegan deli / butchery. Now, butchery comes with such a bad connotation. So I think we're leaning more towards the delicatessen vibe still. Yeah. There is a need for a full-on vegan space where you can just go and get your stuff. You're on your way to a park, you're on your way to friends, you just want to get a potato salad that you don't have to worry about, that has freaking eggs in it.
Yeah, exactly. So, anything with eggs or whey powder or like that. I mean, like, what? Yeah. What? It drives me nuts, right? And I think also, Jay, like, you're very creative in the sense of, I think that you can put a nice little package together where all our dietary or nutritional requirements are being met, and I look forward. I miss Cape Town, I must tell you. Like, I miss all the options, and because here you don't have it, right? And so so I'm definitely looking forward to, and we can always have a conversation online. And guys, I'm also going to share a recipe of Jay on on my social media, and it's going to be on the website. Recipe. And he's going to share with me what he's busy with. And so, any questions and comments that you have, you can always just shoot that through, in the comment section, and I'll tell Jay to go and have a look. Beep, beep, beep. Oh my gosh. And so on that note, with toddler on your legs, so if you could go to space, because I know that you're a Star Trek fan, okay? So if you could go to space and you take Mama Bear and Baby Bear with, like, what's the one thing that you would send into space or take into space with you? Seeing that we're moving into this sort of like online tech world, being promoting where, Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos is promoting us to be able to live multiplanetary, like, what would we take with us, right?
All the seeds to propagate all the beautiful foods that we need to survive, man. Definitely we would need those seeds. If they're not already on the spaceship, there we go. Yeah. If they're not ready on that spaceship. But interesting question that you posed there, because have you checked out, for those viewers that are also still listening, there's this amazing startup space in Silicon Valley called AirMeat. So check it out. Okay. Check it out when you got a moment. They're basically finding a closed loop system where you can get into a spaceship, and it's all because of this expansion of wanting to go into space again. Yeah. You have in the air that we're breathing right now are the particles for creating meat. Now you think about that for a second. How does that even exist? And it's all because of yeast cells in the air that come from meat. Yeah. So that yeast can propagate into being made into fillet steaks, chicken, whatever it is. Yeah. So there's a company that's revolutionizing these kinds of things. And it's very interesting because that has no level of killing to it, but yet you're propagating a form of an animal that can be consumed. So it's a different thing to think about as a vegan.
It's incredible.
It's like, why I still wouldn't want that. Yeah. But the technology is starting to catch up with us now, where we can see these things happening.
And so isn't that just fascinating on one level? Because, we are so boxed in with our thinking and our way of living on the planet, that we very much like, if we can see it, it exists. But yet, if we just shift 1 degree this way and open up our perception and also our awareness, our consciousness, to a whole multi-dimensional and alternate reality almost thing, what's available for us. And so I think, there's no limit to what we can do as human beings. Yeah. And I read something quite interesting, or I heard something quite interesting yesterday. It was with regards to Jane Fonda. Oh, not Jane Fonda. What's our activist, our environmental, Jane Goodall. And, like her message of hope the planet. And
Yes.
and these guys on Rich Roll, they were talking about you know, the message of hope and, you know, intellect versus intelligence. And so all around us we have intelligence, natural intelligence, right? But yet we as human beings think that we are the most intelligent, and I don't think we are, because if we were, we would not be doing what we're doing currently. And so there's a cleverness about us, you know, we're very clever in terms of like our ability to create endlessly, and you know, on the planet, and innovatively, yet we lack the natural, we lack, I almost want to say that everything's quantum, right? So there's at any given moment you have this exchange between you and, let's say, the other, and then it all just basically combines and you're not separate. But we definitely lack that sort of like intelligence, you know, that puts us in harmony with, you know, our environment and all earthlings. And so so that's very interesting. And then to get back to the yeast thing and what you've just mentioned, I mean, where the hell is the Marmite?
I know, right? I know.
What?
Marmite is still an issue.
Like, what? Bring back the Marmite, guys. I mean, like,
it's crazy.
Yeah. And so Jay, do you have anything else that you want to say, or shall we leave it for another time? I think we still got like a few minutes.
I think just wrapping up, you know, it's a very complex world that we're living in, and there's all these. As a vegan chef, I get invited to a lot of different events, and I was at a food hack a few months ago with some very intelligent women on the board. I was the only man with two very intelligent females that were talking about these things I have no grasp of. Okay, but the idea that we're able to start with, we're getting to a place where we can make cheese, mozzarella stringy cheese from plants, not just oil, like is what's happening right now. Okay, you can go to the shops, you can go to Checkers, and you can buy mozzarella vegan cheese, which is kind of coconut oil with some flavoring. Okay, that's great. That was good for us 10 years ago. But where it's actually going now is that there is a fermentation process, which is what not cheese is, but cheese is a curdling of milks, right? It's a curdling of those proteins. And then you take those wheys and curds and you create the cheese, and you create the butter, whatever it is that dairy product is. The reason we can't do it with plants is because the shape of meat cells compared to the shape of plant cells are very, very different, right? One is elongated and one is spherical or oblong. Okay, so they don't combine properly. So the reason that animal, you know, dairy products from an animal work is because of the shape of the actual protein, the molecular structure. Now we're at this place where we can take plants and take them into a new place through yeast extraction and fermentation processes to create the molecular structure that we need to create stringy mozzarella cheese that is made from plants. That's now amazing. There's companies here in South Africa that are doing it. It's called, there's one that's called Nomo, so No More Cow, and Denomo, yes, Denomo. There's another one in Cape Town that's springing up. There's two in South Africa right now. There's one in Berlin that I follow, it's called Formo. There's fantastic sciences that are starting to happen, and it's going to revolutionize the way that we see food.
Yeah, and I think on that note, I also want to say to people that, you know, we're COP 26, you know, is also happening. And if you haven't watched the United Nations summits of 2021, which would be the Biodiversity Summit and the Climate Change Summit and also the Food Summit, you know. So when you look at the Food Summit, you've got all these global leaders participating and making promises, or basically bringing forth, you know, like new ideas and stuff that they will implement, you know, going forward for people across the globe. And so, you know, how much of that is true and valid, I don't know. you know, whether they will honor their word in terms of like actually putting the money where their mouths are, that's another thing. But I think, you know, in terms of food, we are really at that point where we can revolutionize everything. And I would almost want to say to people, don't be so stuck on, you know, the meat industry, because fermented foods are so good for you. Eating naturally and making sure that your soil, water, and air is clean so that your body can be clean is so good for you, you know. And like how people don't see it, I don't know, but almost everybody that I've spoken to that have gone onto a plant-based diet, not even vegan, you know, like the health benefits, they've gotten rid of diseases and ailments in their bodies. And so, and I know for myself as well, that was, you know, also something that I needed to look at and something that I'm revisiting now as well, especially with my back, you know, like I also have to look into things now to be sort of like a level up in terms of that, you know, and to get back into yoga, right? Ugh. And so,
of course. Never leave you.
And then what was the other thing that I wanted to say to people is, you know, we have this one planet, this one earth, and you know, we cannot continue with the pesticides and poison and all this unconscious living on the planet. We really need to start looking, you know, at what people are creating for us, you know, as a collective, so that we as humanity become stronger and healthier, mind, body, soul, you know, emotionally, physically, mentally, and also, you know, where we can allocate that to, you know, despite your status, that we can actually take that into sort of like impoverished communities and say, well, look, you know, there's a different way. And guys, I want to say, you know, like we are only as healthy as the sickest person on the planet, and we are only as successful as, you know, the person that's not successful. And so we really need to look at that sort of relationship that we have with people, and kind of like figure out, you know, where do we trust our governments and where do we not trust our governments, and then, you know, where do we trust the information that's coming through to us on media, and more importantly, like, what's your purpose in this life? What have you actually come to earth to do? And are you just sitting on the sideline, or are you actually going, fuck yes, I'm going to do it? You know what I mean? And so,
absolutely.
Yeah, and so Jay, I want to thank you so very much for having this conversation with me. Let's get a title out for this video. I think it's super good conversation that we had, and I look forward to having another conversation with you, and also just sharing a beautiful recipe. It's easy, you know, to make on the website and also all the social pages. And oh, what is that?
I think this will be.
Ooh. I'm like, oh, you make me so hungry. I'm so hungry.
I think that'll be a nice one to share with all our viewers, because there's also a video. The link I'll send you is through the LiveKindly stuff that I did with LiveKindly last year, and this is also in the recipe book as well. So it gives them a good idea of how do we take something that's traditionally like a lamb style curry, and now we're using mushrooms, and we don't have to put it in a bunny chow. It can be on rice, a traditional style, or in rotis or whatever you like with your curry. But it's a nice one to share.
And best of all, you know, no animals will be hurt in your meal, and you would have been part of a meal, you know, and cooking that meal without harming and being totally kind. Right, totally super uber duper kind to you know, the animals on our planet, right? And so from me and Jay, be kind to the animals, be kind to the non-human animals, and also to yourself. And if you have any questions, you'll know where to find us. Jay's just shared at livekindly.co. I'll include all of this, you know, onto the website, plus graphics, and I need a nice photo of you, Mr. Man. And so I think that's that for now, and I look forward to having another conversation with you, and send all my love to your honey bun. And also little Flynn is too cute. He's too cute for words. And on that note, if you are a mom and a dad and you have brought a child into this world, it is your duty, your absolute duty, to make sure that you are planting trees, that you are sprouting seeds, that you are taking a kinder approach and all over, you know, to make sure that your child is going to have the future and the way of quality of life that you've had, okay, if not better. And so if not you, then who? Okay, definitely not the organizations, definitely not the governments. And so if not you, who's going to secure that your child has the best future going ahead on a planet that's healthy, okay, drinking healthy water, clean, pure, I mean, just top notch, and also eating food that's been cultivated in like rich nutritional soil. I think, you know, parents really need to participate in this. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks,
So
Petro.
love you
Well,
much. Thank you
awesome
so
chatting.
much. I'm gonna edit all of this and I'm gonna email you and we can get the rest online. Okay.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you.